All right, we got a big show as always. We're going to be recapping who's number one in today's episode, and then we're going to be talking to Devonte Johnson. He's calling in, getting his thoughts on all things who's number ones. But I just wanted to say before we get going that this show is presented by IM8, the all-in-one formula for fighters, built for performance, trusted for recovery. Use code FLOWSPORTS for 10% off and visit im8health.com/FlowSports to get yours today. That's FlowSports is the code, all caps, for 10% off at im8health.com/FlowSports. Now let's get into the episode. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the FloGrappling Show, a.k.a. the worst show on the internet. As always, I'm Trey Robinson. We got Joey Gilps right there, Big Uncle Reed right there, and then Daddy Slack Barrett on the ones and twos. We got Devonte Johnson calling in later, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that one. But we're going to be recapping who's number one, telling you everything that went down in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania over the weekend. I think to start, we got, we pulled some of the top subs. We can kind of watch through that, and we just talk about kind of some of the main stuff that stood out to us. What was kind of the big takeaways for you guys?
Got to start with Declan Moody. Moody 316 is born. Takes the open weight championship at who's number 130. Beats Dante in the final in a super close competitive matchup. But Declan looked awesome. I think this was him announcing that he's really kind of made it to this elite level where, man, there's just a million matchups I want to see with him now.
Yeah, definitely. Declan looked like a beast. Dante, I thought, also looked like 100%. A beast, made it to the finals. I thought that was super impressive. We ended up seeing the heaviest dude and the lightest dude in the bracket make it to the finals, which was kind of a sick little thing. What about you, Reed?
Yeah, I think we have some highlights here, too, we can watch from the bracket. The bracket was incredible. 8 of the most elite guys in the sport kind of throwing down. Incredible moment there from Devonte hitting the Stone Cold with the White Monsters.
Yeah. It's Declan 316, and I just whooped your ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think this was one of the most interesting matches for me kind of going into the night is Pat Shigoli versus Dante Leon. Was really curious to see how this one was going to go. Obviously Dante just a beast out there, man. He goes to show that, even if these guys are bigger than him, even if they are younger than him, Dante's still the guy to beat. So this was an impressive submission there right out the gate to kick things off on the bracket. But Dante looked incredible. Declan, looked incredible. He got a submission out there as well. So just a really fun bracket. Achilles versus Felipe was an incredible match. That was one of the funnest matches of the night. But just love the storyline that develops in the bracket. Seeing those quarterfinals, seeing Dante get the submission, and then kind of have to go on to the next round and fight Felipe. A lot of question marks. So. Hopefully we get to do more of these brackets in the future, just because, the bracket is just such a fun vibe, and seeing them kind of write their names in as they move on in the bracket and everything like that just makes for such a great storyline for these events to follow.
Dante finished that rear naked too, just like across the mouth of Pat. He had these huge indentions on his arm from just crushing Pat's teeth into his arm. That was a brutal one for sure.
By the way, shout out Pat Shigoli. A lot of our marketing material was a little outdated, I guess it's fair to say.
Lost like 80 pounds.
He's lost, like 80 pounds. He looks incredible. Here you see Emily Leyva of the Dream.
Yeah, had a couple super fights, this was on the undercard actually, but also a couple super fights. Emily Leyva from that Dream Team trains with Sarah Galvao. She's been looking great recently, so excited to get her kind of in the Who's Number One universe, get a big submission win like that.
Man, I want to see her in the Funegras so bad. I think that's going to be a huge matchup in the future. Gi, no gi, so many opportunities to be able to see her. There's multiple Funegras, so we're going to get plenty of opportunities there, right? But that's like that next generation. Then you talk about next generation, got to be talking about Sarah Galvao, who felt like she was close to a submission for about 11 minutes, and then was finally able to close the show with this armbar here on Trinity Pun, who's so tough and dangerous. It didn't get a chance to show it in this match, but this is a high-quality opponent.
Slick transition here to the armbar, too.
She, pulls her back in bounds, doesn't let her get out of bounds, cause a reset. But, yeah, Sarah looked like a beast for sure. Atos showed out in their 2 super fights on that one. There she was finishing the armbar.
And then picked up the Mackenzie Dern. Angelica was in the corner for Mackenzie Dern. Congratulations, winning the UFC championship over the weekend. Atos,
Absolutely.
Big weekend for them.
Definitely.
As per usual.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, man, it was just a fun night in Pittsburgh there. Different crowd, different kind of place for us to hold Who's Number One, but I thought the Pittsburgh crowd really showed out. A lot of locals on the card as well. Justin Michael here won the won the qualifier. Unfortunately, he ran into the tournament winner, Declan.
Hey man, he asked for Declan. He was all about that match.
Yeah.
That was if you had him drop the bracket, I don't think he might have given you a different one. So
yeah, but Declan just having such an incredible year. Like you just like one of the best years we've seen in a long time. I feel like, and he's
kind of the breakout guy, right?
Yeah, he's just stacking wins left and right over different opponents. 10th Planet guys, European guys. It's just like he's out there kind of fighting everybody and looking incredible doing it. So, the future is extremely bright for Declan Moody.
Definitely.
As he wants Mourinho next. That's a heck of a fight.
I love it.
Heck of a fight.
I love it.
Yeah, that's an aspect. I don't know if everyone knows that part of this bracket, but the winner of the bracket, which is Declan now, obviously, becomes the who's number one open weight champion. So they get the open weight belt. But then that person can then challenge for any of the other who's number one belts. And now I saw someone in the comments being like, what's he going to challenge at featherweight? It's like, well, he still has to make the weight. So it's not like we're not just like, throwing out all the rules of grappling. So obviously 205 heavyweight are the options for Declan there. And he went with Pedro Mourinho is who he's saying that he wants to go after. So what do you guys think about a potential match of Declan versus Pedro Mourinho?
I think that's awesome. I think that obviously we've seen if Declan can get on top, it's going to be a big problem. I think that people in the past have been worried about Pedro Mourinho being a boring guy, boring grappler. And I think in his BJJ Stars run that he just had where he won an open weight championship, he looked like a completely different guy, scoring a bunch of submissions, big takedowns. Looked like that like 2021-ish Pedro Mourinho when he was first starting to break out. Before people had kind of figured him out, he's really evolved his game. So the fact that we can get these two in there, I think they might just be the best 205ers in the world. Let's get them together. Let's have them face off for the belt. I can't wait for that matchup.
Yeah, I agree. And Pedro is just such a dangerous guy on the feet as well. He's got good takedowns, but that guillotine that he has is just so dangerous, and it really kind of makes people, become statues in front of him because they don't want to shoot in and get caught on that guillotine that he's finished so many people. He finished Yatan Bueno there in the BJJ Stars open weight bracket, but love that match for sure. Think it's a good stylistic match, and hard to pick.
What was a big takeaway for you, Slack? You were back here in Austin watching it all and everything. Anything stand out?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like Reed took all my ideas, right? When he jumped in, he's on a roll today. But I just really enjoyed watching a bracket. It was just really fun to watch it play out throughout the course of the evening. Also, just the backstory, like shout out to Justin Michael. Like I know that was a really tough draw for him, but like knowing that he went through a bracket to qualify was a really cool thing to be able to watch the weekend before. And I just liked watching like how all those stories played out. So yeah, I would love to see more brackets on WNO. That'd be cool.
Yeah, some of the other matches, we're not going to dive into all of them just for time reasons here, but, we saw Ryan Aiken versus Michael Sains. There were some cool aspects of that match for sure. It was like a lot of Ryan just kind of dominating positionally, staying on top.
Ryan got on top. It was a big
Yeah. Michael had that look early on that Choi bar for a second. Yeah. It looked like, oh, shit, but then it was kind of all Ryan after that.
And then Felipe versus Achilles, that was a sick match. I recommend going back and watching that one, kind of back and forth with those dudes. Both of them, we'll just throw some crazy stuff out there and put on a good match for the fans.
Laranjinho really is becoming my like number one. Doesn't get the attention, but his skill level is like way. Like you see those charts, like a recognition down here, skill level up here. Who is it? For me right now, it's Laranjinho because even though we put out videos about this guy, trying to let everybody know, maybe it's because his name is Felipe Costa, which isn't a very exciting name. You know what I mean? Or something like that. I can't figure it out. This guy's one of the best in the world. He's an exciting guy. His English is great. He is the nicest dude in person. This dude is elite and doesn't always get the attention or accreditation. Even Devhonte was calling him out.
And he's out there officiating a wedding just 24 hours.
Wedding officiant.
Officiated Victor Hugo's wedding.
So he's a busy guy.
You guys ever officiated a wedding?
No.
Me neither.
I don't think I would. Feels like a lot of work.
Yeah. It seems like high pressure for not a lot of payoff.
Yeah, like just get a guy. Get a guy.
We got guys who does that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But one match
Costa does it, so we could hit him.
Yeah.
One match we obviously wanted to dive into is the final of Dante versus Declan, so we can kind of watch some of this and just talk about this. Did you guys going into this? Did you predict Dante versus Declan final?
I was hoping we were going to see Devonte versus Dante versus Declan. I'm getting mixed up.
We got a lot of D's on.
Yeah, all these D names. So this was definitely one I was hoping we got to see, and it delivered, in a very close match. Some people seem to think Dante won. Some people seem to think Declan won. Definitely want to hear what you guys think in the comments, who you guys think won this one. But a very close match. Obviously, two guys who are technically very close to each other.
I know that
entry was nuts.
I know. I was just about to say that. Think of that entry was crazy too. He's doing it to Declan Moody.
Yeah.
Right now is easily one of the hardest guys to enter into legs on at all. So the idea that he's able to do this and then wrestle up on it really just shows how Dante has really developed into one of the best leg lockers on the planet. And, but for everything that happened in this match, you would never know there was a 45-pound weight difference.
Yeah.
I don't think the match played out like big guy, little guy at all. And that's a big credit to, Dante and all the work that he puts in behind the scenes to make sure that he's never the weaker guy on the mat. We got a chance to meet Dante's father after the event.
Yeah, he didn't like the decision.
He didn't love it, but did have the West Side Barbell sweatshirt on, which I thought was only fitting. Right?
Yeah, he looked like a beast. He looked like a guy who would raise Dante Leon.
Real blue collar.
Yeah, that was one of my takeaways.
Yeah.
A great match that you kind of would never see in a super fight situation, So this is just kind of one of those super fights that we're really lucky that we got to see because, any other situation outside of an ADCC absolute division, this is not a match you would get to see. So we're just pumped that we got to see two high level grapplers go at it like this, and heck, let's run it again.
I thought one of my biggest takeaways from watching this bracket is not to take anything away from Declan because he did get the win, but Dante's guard is so good. His guard was incredible this entire match. And then the other aspect is Dante's ability to wrestle up from his guard. Against Pat, he kind of does that spiral from his guard up to the back and wrestles up from there. And he kind of did a similar thing earlier to Declan. But Dante's guard and his wrestle up ability, I thought was pretty incredible, especially these dudes who are so much bigger than him. But that was one of my takeaways.
Yeah, and even just watching, Declan, you could see him step out there. It's just you really do not want to be sitting in his guard. And I had the thought while I was watching this, I was like, I don't think there's anything scarier in jiu-jitsu to me than the idea of being in a position to pass Dante Leon's guard while he's trying to rip your legs off of your body.
It's a tough one.
The strength and the proficiency and just how sharp he is at it. It's just that just seems terrifying.
The scariest place to be is just standing in front of Dante's open guard.
Laying down.
Yeah,
the only thing worse. The only thing worse would maybe be to have him on your back, putting a rear naked choke over your mouth.
Yeah. The
like he did to Pat. I mean,
we got Elder Cam.
Rough.
And then, the other big takeaway is also just, the counterpoint to Dante's incredible guard is Declan's incredible passing.
Yeah.
I think Declan, I don't know. I feel like I'm close to just being saying that he just outright has the best outside passing in jiu-jitsu right now.
Very confident.
I think Dorian Oliveira is incredible outside passing.
There's a couple on the short list, and he's on.
Yeah. I definitely think he's up there. I don't know. I don't know. I need to watch this match back again a couple times.
He gets close a couple times here. Yeah, this is
right here.
One of the best looks.
If we were giving it that way.
Yeah, this is maybe one of the best looks he gets at a pass right here. Tries to go to mount, and Dante's able to re-guard.
Yeah, Dante's just kind of always right there with that guard.
Mm-hmm.
He's got Owen Jones.
The dexterity he has in his legs, where he can just pummel his legs in at any moment, is.
Yeah, he clearly has so much dexterity, but he also has just so much strength in the weird positions. He's he can use the dexterity to get it in, and then he can actually maintain and hold the frame or use it to get into something else.
Space.
I feel like a lot of times we do see guys especially in lower weight classes like rooster weight and stuff, where they just have an impassable guard, but it just feels like it's because their legs are made of rubber, and it's just they can always
flexibility, but not dexterity.
Yeah,
dexterity is your ability to use it once it's in there, right?
Yeah, so it's they're constantly able to just always have kind of heel thrown in front of the guy, but they're not really using it to advance or do anything. Dante's feels like he's just always actively using it and progressing with his guard also.
But a lot of these passes are vintage Declan Moody. He's getting to his positions that he wants to get to, but Dante's guard just incredible. So fun match between two of the highest level grapplers out there.
Definitely. Also worth noting, Declan, we said openweight champion. That is a belt that he could defend, right? We could have him face basically anybody throughout any of these male divisions, right? Diego Pato is always looking for something to do openweight.
If Declan can make the weight, him versus Pato is a great match.
No, pull Pato up. I'm saying.
No, he's saying call it an open, let Pato challenge him.
Yeah, Pato could.
No, I agree with Reed. I think Declan should go down.
Yeah, I want to see Declan make the weight, but
It wouldn't be the first time. He is. I found this out over the weekend. He said this to us. This is crazy. Declan has competed at every IBJJF weight class, from rooster to ultra heavy.
How nuts is
That's
that?
hard to believe.
At adult,
That might be
like not just like juvenile or it's like he said adult, right?
Yeah,
Like,
adult. Like he wasn't 14 doing it. That's that. Who else has done that? You know what I mean? There's maybe 2 or 3 other guys in history. If that, he might
It's
be
like
the only guy.
you see a guy who weighs 222 pounds, and you just assume that they've never weighed under the rooster weight limit in their entire life. It's like they were born, and maybe they were like, how much does a baby weigh when it's born, Slack?
Depends anywhere from 7 to 9 ish.
Okay, so he was born
a window.
He was born like 9 pounds, and then like 2 months later, he weighed like 185 pounds. That's kind of like how I thought it worked for Declan. But yeah, super sick one. If Declan was going to defend the open weight belt, how do you think who's number one should do it? Should we have another open weight bracket to solidify the number one contender, and then they fight as a super fight? Or just pick a random one. I kind of feel like another bracket to.
Yeah, I think Declan's just got to jump in another bracket.
Yeah.
Oh, and
so
Declan
him in.
jumps in
I was
the
thinking like a
bracket.
challenger where it was like Declan wasn't in it, and they do a challenger bracket to find the new.
Yeah,
contender.
maybe.
I kind of like the idea of Declan
Maybe.
hopping in there, though.
Yeah, but I also like the idea of just us running another open weight tournament and having the champion in there and
make him
That's
the
not a
one
bad
seed.
idea.
and
Yeah.
Run it.
That would be a fun little aspect of who's number one to have in our back pocket, where at any point in time we can just run the open weight bracket again, mix it up however we want. That's one thing with open weight brackets. Oftentimes when you say open weight bracket, you end up with a lot of really heavy guys. You can do an open weight bracket with small guys too, like only small guys to be honest. So I think we find the best 135 and 145 pounders and Declan and then run that.
love it. And then we had
Baby Shark.
we had a couple other super fights on the card too. We're going to talk to Devonte Johnson here in just a minute, and we talked a little bit about Sarah's, but another big one there was Gavin Corby versus Owen Jones. This one definitely made a lot of waves. Owen talked a lot of crap, but I think that's just true to who Owen is. No matter who the opponent is. Obviously, Owen thinks he's gonna win, but very technical kind of back and forth match in this match as well, right?
Definitely, yeah. I think so a weird aspect of this match, Gavin had Andre Galvao in his corner. I think just because Owen thought it would be cool to have Andre.
Owen had.
Is it?
You said Gavin.
Oh yeah. Owen had Andre Galvao, my bad. And then he also had Wagner Hosha just coaching from like the stands way back, just yelling stuff.
I think that was just. I don't even know if he asked Wagner. I think Wagner was like, "Shit talkers got to stick together.
Yeah.
Real recognize real."
100%. So I was like, that was kind of weird. I don't know what's going. This kid Owen's an enigma. Just got Andre and Wagner coaching him. And then on the other side, you have Gavin. Gavin just the whole time talking about how he doesn't think about opponents, doesn't watch matches, doesn't plan for matches. Just Greg tells him he's going to fight this guy, and then he goes out there and surprises himself with kind of the jiu-jitsu he does and everything. And I guess that's a little bit how this played out. I thought in this match, like Andre kept telling Owen to kind of like trust his passing and his ability to take the back. And I feel like that maybe was what was missing at the end of this. If Owen wanted the win, then it's like he did need like a clear look at the back and like kind of to take the back or get a near back take or something like that. Because other than that, it was just like a lot of Gavin kind of on top, just pressuring Owen's guard and stuff. I'll be honest, like I haven't rewatched a lot of these, and it's hard after the moment because for one, we're like filming and trying to like make sure the video looks good, but also like there's just so much. I don't remember any super significant moments throughout that match. I don't know if you guys do, like any solidifying moments.
I do remember Gavin got in pretty deep on a leg lock at one point, and they started rolling over, and he seemed like pretty close, at least in the sense of like earning an advantage. If it was IBJJF for sure, it was like a pretty decisive moment, but.
Yeah, I would say that Gavin, probably had the best look at a submission, and it probably did a lot of the best work positionally. So I was not surprised that he got the decision, although I thought it was very close. I thought that Owen was a little passive, in his ability to come up and his ability to change up his game plan. It looked like he really wanted to play his open guard. He really wanted to get into his systems there. And even after 10 minutes, when that really wasn't giving him a lot of good big results, just a lot of even exchanges, didn't have the plan B to go back into. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think he's going to learn from that. He's such a smart technical guy. I'm sure I'm not saying anything that he hasn't seen and isn't already working on. But both these guys are so incredible. I thought it was really cool to be able to get Gavin in and be able to show him off a little bit. I think people have kind of picked up how good and how special DeAndre is as a grappler. Gavin is every bit as good as him. And the fact that we were able to get him in here, get him a big win over a contender, really show off that he's so skilled, I think that was a cool time too.
Yeah, I feel like we know how good Gavin is. We've known how good Gavin is for a little while now, and we know that he's one of the best in the world and surging to kind of, make a claim at that number one spot, and he's, absolutely deserved of it. And Owen knew that too. Owen knew how good Gavin was. Deep down he talked a lot of shit, but like Owen studies film. Owen watches this stuff religiously. He knew exactly how good Gavin was. And it was Gavin's night. Maybe we play it back and it's different. Would love to see that match again, to be honest. A lot of strategy being played, so it definitely feels like it could go differently. But big win for Gavin, and I think there's a lot of big matches for Gavin. Maybe the first one is this rematch with Pato. Both the Corby brothers rematching with Pato seems like it would be
unfinished business.
2 versus 1 even, like that'd be cool. But
no, here's
Tag
the
team.
move. Here's the move. Both Corbet brothers versus Pato and clearly Icaro.
Icaro, I was gonna say Cole, but Icaro
Got to be Icaro.
Icaro would
right?
be a good one too. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. But is there anything else from Who's Number One we should talk about? From Who's Number 130?
Pretty
much.
Sarah, I feel like we got everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a fun night of grappling out there in Pittsburgh. Shout out the 24/7 guys, Hunter and everything for providing a stage for us and everything like that. Hopefully we get out to Pittsburgh again one of these days. But great overall card. It was fun.
Definitely. We're going to talk to Devonte here in a second, but, before we talk to Devonte, I do want to just, point out that Who's Number 131 is already announced. It's going to be December 5th at the Kalahari Resort in Round Rock, Texas. The main event, it's already out there. We're going to have Luke Griffith going up against Felipe Pena. I think this is the third match. In this one, so far it's 2-0 in Felipe's favor. So I think Luke, this is a big match for him to try and prove that he deserves to be at the top. But this one's going to be for the Who's Number 1 heavyweight belt. So excited to see this one. Like I said, Who's Number 131 going down December 5th. And now let's get Devonte Johnson on the horn and let's talk to him real quick. All right, now we got very special guest Devonte Johnson calling in. Everybody give it up for Devonte real quick.
Devonte, thanks for calling in.
Let's go, Devonte. So you're obviously coming off of a big win at WNO 30, made your WNO debut, got the dub. Just want to kick it off overall with just, what did you think of WNO? What did you think about your performance?
Yeah, I think the WNO as an event was an awesome experience. It was pretty dope, and it was really nice to be on the how can I say behind the scenes and just like a part of the event. I've been following WNO actually since the first event. So I've been a big fan of what you guys have been building and what you guys are doing for the sport. So it was really exciting for me to finally get out there and to finally, show my jiu-jitsu on the stage and, hopefully start to build a relationship with the event.
Definitely. So, the reality is that it was in Pittsburgh, but it was kind of a little bit outside of Pittsburgh and all that. Did you get a chance to go into Pittsburgh at all? Experience the Pittsburgh lifestyle? You were just kind of out there in that Monroeville area the whole time?
Yeah, so Outback Steakhouse was my best friend because it was right next to the hotel. And it's so funny too because I don't think I've eaten Outback Steakhouse in like maybe 10 years or so. So I think I was like a purple belt the last time I ate Outback Steakhouse. But I was like, it's better than having to commute. When I'm competing, I get really kind of like lazy with anything other than jiu-jitsu, if that makes any sense. And so I don't really want to travel unless it's to a gym to train. I don't really want to think unless it's about like doing jiu-jitsu. And I don't really want to do anything other than eat, sleep, and like mentally prepare. So like the fact that Outback Steakhouse was there, we were like by halfway through the first day, I think it was like my third visit. The staff kind of remembered me. They're like, "Oh, back again."
Did you get a bloomin' onion?
No, I was getting the porterhouse, the porterhouse and the ribeye.
Nice.
Can't go wrong there. Yeah, that sounds good.
You should have treated yourself afterwards though. That victory bloomin' onion, that would have hit different at the Outback.
To be honest with you, I don't even know what that is. What is that?
It's like a fried onion thing. I don't know.
Like an onion ring that they,
It's an Outback staple though.
Okay, I've never even heard of it.
So I know there was some stuff going on in your camp and your lead up to Who's
Yeah.
Number One and everything. Do you want to kind of get into that some and tell us what was going on? What was your camp like for this match with Gutenberg?
Yeah, so the funny thing is the camp was amazing. Um, I was training really well for majority of the camp, and then I got to about maybe like the first week of October, and then I went from feeling like Superman to just like dealing with like, one kind of like, I don't want to say setback, but just one obstacle after another because I was gonna do Nogi Pans as like a little bit of a prep for the match because I hadn't competed since like August, I think, or maybe I don't even think it was August. I think it was July. I had took a little bit of time off because my last match was at BJJ Stars in July, and I was like, man, I should probably do something before I have this match at Who's Number One. So I was going to do Nogi Pans, and then I got sick. What I got, I have no clue. I just assumed it's probably COVID because I thought I was going to die. And then I'm like, all right, I lost like 5 days, 6 days, but I'm good. I'm back to training. And I trained for like maybe like a week and a half or so. And then I think it was like 10 days. It was like a Monday. It was like 10 days out from the actual match. I got hit in the head by one of my students. Complete accident. He wasn't even spazzing. It was just like a wet spot on the mat. And he slipped. And instead of like going for a front headlock, he kind of like hit me with a left hook on the right side of my temple. And I legit had a concussion. I thought I was like kind of like, making it up. And so I was like, oh, you just stop looking for an excuse, stop looking for a way out. You know how like the self-talk like kind of like kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, if this happened in the match, you gotta push through it. So you're gonna push through this training session. And you're gonna keep working. So I finished the training session, and then the next day I was cooked. I mean, like I got up and I knew I was cooked, but I didn't listen to myself. Went to training anyway, and I went to go do some back situationals, and I tried to switch sides, like from one side to the other side, and I just felt like the world was spinning. And I was like, ooh, this is a very new feeling. And I had once had a concussion prior, maybe like 2018 from a car accident, but it wasn't like this. And I was like, this is different. And so I stopped training jujitsu and I just like went on walks and I did some lifting, but I kept it like under like 5 reps, nothing that would, and really, really light. It was more just like for mental like health, just so that I can be like, I'm doing something. But I couldn't raise my heart rate too much. Couldn't do anything that would cause me like to brace or like I forget what the doctor called it. I'll raise my blood pressure or anything like that too quickly. So I really just had to rest, and I couldn't watch too much tape because I was not supposed to be on screens. So it was a very interesting, 10 or so days leading up to the tournament because I couldn't really do anything. And I'm for the match. And I think I mentioned this before, but I was like, literally, I thought about like not doing the match, but then like I feel like sometimes in life, like you have to like make a decision, and like especially when it's a big decision, like it'll seem like it's like everything is like coming together, and then you'll get hit with something to make you kind of like decide how much you want it or how much you want to go through with it. And I was like, man, if this is one of those moments, and I look back and I was like, oh, like I can't do it, guys. But hopefully I can get on another card at a later date. And then something else happened that was probably even worse than this situation. I would look back and be like, man, I missed a really big opportunity to be a part of this event and something kept happening. You know what I mean? Or I never got the chance again, because nothing is guaranteed in life. So I was just like, you know what? It's not an ideal situation. I don't, feel comfortable. Like, I'm not my full self, but I got to go see if I can make some lemonade nonetheless. You know what I mean? And I went out and did it.
Definitely. So obviously it did work out for you, but kind of leading, like, the event's getting nearer. You don't have a lot of time left for preparation and all that. And then you kind of hit some roadblocks like this. Is it kind of harder, like mentally or physically now going into a big match like this? Like, are you thinking about it more, or is it more just like not having your body in the right shape that kind of has a bigger impact on you?
Yeah, I think it was more just like mental. This time doing this match um was definitely mental. It was more mental than I had ever like experienced actually because like for me, competing is fun. And a lot of people say that but I really do like have a lot of fun competing. That's why I still do it. That's why I've always done it. Like, you know what I mean? Like I didn't start jujitsu to be a competitor. Or I didn't start jujitsu to be like anything other than a guy who's just doing jujitsu. And so like when I started competing though, I was like, oh, like I love this like 100 times more now. And and so then I was just like, you know, when I compete, it's not for anything other than to challenge myself and to just enjoy the moment, right? And just to keep either fighting bigger fish or fighting on bigger events, right? And so like I never really feel pressure, but this or just like not even pressure because everybody feels pressure. I never feel uncertain about myself. This was something I felt before because for the first time, because prior to this moment, I could always be like, oh, I'm doing the things I'm supposed to do. I'm eating well, I'm training well, I'm doing my cardio, I'm taking care of my body. You know what I mean? Like I can like those are things that kind of give me confidence, right? And I'm watching my tape, like watching matches is a big deal for me, right? And so to go into this match, even though it was only for like 10 days or so, to be like, man, I don't know, I haven't breathed hard in like 10 days. Like, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And you guys train, so you guys know, like, when you compete, 5 minutes might be like, you know, a
Super
5 minute in
quick.
a match. Exactly. You can train for like 2 hours and it will not be as intense as a 5 minute, burst in a match. And so, like, in my head, I'm like, man, this is the first time I've ever had a situation where I'm like, oh, I can't train at all. I can't drill. I can't squeeze on someone's neck. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because even like what I remember, like standing up and like sitting down was like like a crazy thing. So for me, this was the first time where I was kind of like, oh wow, like I feel a little uncertain. I kind of forgot um, you almost like kind of like forget who you are a little bit,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
forget what you're capable of a little bit.
But I
And
feel
then I
like,
said to myself,
sorry, go ahead.
"Oh no, no, go ahead. No, you go."
Well, I just was gonna say, man, I feel like you've been doing this for such a long time now. Like,
Yeah.
how long have you been doing this? And does that help the fact that you kind of have more experience than maybe anybody on the Who's Number One card?
Yeah, I think I started jujitsu when I was 17. So it's been like maybe like 14 years. It'll be 15 at the end of the year. So like in December 23rd makes 15 years. Yeah. So
Two
yeah,
days
that's
before
kind of
Christmas, you were like, I gotta start training, huh?
yeah, pretty much. I was training at a boxing gym actually. And they were like, yo, boxing is dope, but like this jujitsu stuff, this MMA stuff is like what you need to be doing. And I got into jujitsu thinking like, oh, I box, I'm gonna train some grappling and I'll do MMA. And then I started doing jujitsu and I was just like, yeah, I just want to do this. You know what I mean?
Definitely, yeah. Was there a moment kind of once you got to Pittsburgh and everything, maybe you got that first porterhouse at Outback in you that you kind of started feeling the vibes again and kind of getting back to like more reset, like you were ready to compete or anything? Or
Honestly, bro, once I got on the plane, you know what I mean? That's kind of when I was just like, all right, like, you know, whatever you think or whatever you're concerned about, you just need to go and get through this. And so like for me, I don't know, it's like a switch. And I talk with a performance coach and he helps me like gather my thoughts a little bit, so to speak. But like I feel like when I compete at least, there's like stages of like, mental like states, if you will. And like for me, once I start commuting someplace, I'm kind of like in like an embracing period, like where I'm just kind of like, all right, like you have all these variables that might not be ideal, but like now you have a job to do or a task to complete. And so once I got to Pittsburgh, I was just like, I don't know how it's gonna look per se, or I'm not sure how. I can't predict the outcome per se, but I just know I'm gonna give everything I have, and then we'll see where that takes me. You know what I mean? So
definitely.
that's kind of how I approached it, and it worked out.
How
Yeah.
much do you feel like? How much do you feel like that concussion and that interruption of your training camp ended up affecting the match? Do you feel like once you were out there, did you feel like it was definitely affecting you and you were having to compete differently, or do you feel like you just were able to let it fly anyway once you got up there and the adrenaline hit?
Yeah.
What'd you
Yeah, I
think?
think I'm still pretty sensitive to light, to be honest with you. So the light and the sound was kind of crazy. Actually, like right after my match, I think I did like the interview, And I said bye to a few people and I left because I wanted to get out of there because like the lights and the sound was like giving me a headache. And I felt that during the match, but that's kind of like what you accept that as part of the cost of doing business once you step out there, right? So, it just is it's just a part of it. And like for example, I couldn't do like double unders passing, which is like my best like style of passing, just because I didn't want to get kicked in the face. Right there was actually a point in the match where I saw the chance to do it, and I went to go do it, and I saw his legs like, I felt his leg like, go past my face, and I was like, man, I gotta figure out something else, like because I don't want to get up kicked and be in a much worse situation.
Definitely. I kind of want to ask you about you because you mentioned how you really do enjoy competing and stuff, and that's something that's definitely like even if an athlete learns to kind of enjoy competition and being out there on big stages and stuff, I feel like it's not always natural to people. So maybe for like young competitors or hobbyists who are playing around with the idea of getting out there and competing more, but they're really dealing with a lot of the emotions and like the fear of competing and all that. Do you have like advice or ways you think that people can kind of overcome that and get more comfortable competing?
Yeah, I think competing is interesting because I think competing is like a lot like, I mean, competing is just like life, right? Like, and anytime you like have to, at least for me, I find like in my life when I try to control too much, and then life kind of shows you how little control you have over things. And when you resist that, the harder it becomes to like accept like this like uncertainty. You know what I mean? And I think competing can be fun if you learn to embrace uncertainty. You know what I mean? Like you control the things that you can control, and then the things that you can't control, you take a mental note and you plan for them, you account for them. But at the end of the day, you just kind of have to like, you know, let it fly. And so life's like that. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna have a pretty tough experience with life if you live every day thinking like, oh, I might die one day. What do I do? You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
gonna be rough. We have a lot of time. Even if you live until you're like 50, that's a lot. That's many days going to sleep worrying about like if tomorrow is gonna come or something like this, right? So like for me when I compete, like there are pressures, there are things that concern you, there are things that might even be intimidating, but like I feel like the more I kind of like try to like embrace those thoughts and those feelings, the easier it is to kind of accept them for what they are. Because just because you think something or you feel something doesn't mean that it's actually true. At least that's how I feel. You know what I mean? Like I might be, you might be afraid of something, but being afraid of something doesn't mean that you can't overcome it. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, but if you focus and fixate on the fear, it will take away so much of the other things that are available to you, like your ability to see beyond the fear. You know what I mean?
For sure. And I think, obviously the more and more experience you can get and putting yourself in that environment, you kind of learn to manage and deal with those emotions and stuff. And eventually, it can kind of become a good thing, something you kind of crave that feeling and stuff. And you've obviously been doing that for a super long time now. I know Reed kind of wanted to tee up this video we have of you from way back in the day. You want to kind of talk about this?
Yeah. I pulled this.
Yo, can I guess this video?
Yeah.
I feel like I know this video.
Yeah.
Is it the Purple Ball Worlds video?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's like you have honestly a couple of our like favorite moments of competition that we like reference all the time. Another one being from ADCC trials against Luke Harris that we reference all the time.
I'm keeping this.
Yeah. Where you guys went out of bounds and then you're
The ref yells, "I didn't say stop," and then you just throw him on his head, and you're like, "I'm keeping that now." And then you guys get paid back. That was an awesome moment.
Yeah, that's a great moment. But this is from World IBJJF World Championships in 2017, I believe, and it's just one of my favorite clips. We've been doing this for 10 years now, and it genuinely was one of the hypest matches, one of the kind of craziest moments that I remember capturing. And yeah, Amanda, maybe we can play this video with Devonte so he can kind of react to it too. But yeah, this is kind of OG Devonte. We were talking beforehand, Gutenberg and Devonte, man, when it's all said and done, you guys both are already on this kind of legends trajectory. You both had been doing it for so long and both had already accomplished so much. But yeah, maybe we could just play this video real quick because this is just one of my favorite moments from capturing jiu-jitsu over the years.
Nick is in the background.
Yeah, you got Nicholas there. Of course, this is the final of the purple belt heavyweight division, I believe, in 2017. This is the final. Yeah. Obviously, Alliance and Mario Hayes' crew is one of the most intimidating kind of crews to have to go up against. And you took a different tact, whereas a lot of people stay quiet or maybe get scared of all the hype and all the kind of screaming and stuff. But you were going at Alliance and Marigali and Fabio Alano. And then, of course, you get the win here. Incredible moment. You collapse on the ground. I did a little interview with you. But that's kind of the full video. It's just kind of a quick 1-minute clip. But yeah, I just wanted to, I don't know. Like I said, you've been in this game for so long, and there's Nicholas and Mario Hayes screaming at you.
I don't know. Stop the video.
Yeah, you can stop the video. What do you remember from this moment that really sticks out?
You know, it's funny. I was actually, I mentioned before how when I was a purple belt, actually, I'm really thankful for my time in the gi, and like where I just completed exclusively no gi. I mean, in the gi, sorry. And I feel like at the time that I was coming up, I got to fight the best guys. And if I didn't get to fight the best guys, I was in the same tournaments, in the same brackets, in the same division with like the guys who are like killing it right now, like the top of the sport, like Gustavo Batista, Nicholas Marigali, Felipe Andrew, Gutenberg. We had never competed as a lower belt, but I was always watching him. We always knew of each other. And we're kind of, I mean, even he was probably even like, we're going to have to fight one day. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. And I remember when I fought Victor Hugo as a purple belt, and he like came out of nowhere, at least to me. You know what I mean? I like.
How does someone that big come out of nowhere?
Bro, I mean, like, dope. I was like so focused on like Marigali and, the Felipe Andrews, because I feel like they were a little bit ahead of me coming up. And then like I remember I fought Marigali, and I think I wasn't even Marigali. I think it was like Felipe Andrew, and we fought in the finals of the Worlds, and then I fought Victor Hugo in the absolute semifinals, and I'm like, there's like, where are these Brazilians coming from? Like, you know what I mean? Like, Jesus Christ! But like that video, huh?
Mostly Brazil.
Yeah, right. But I'm like another one to deal with. You know what I mean? But I remember that match in particular. I have fought Marigali, and he was just like the roadblock. I fought him like 2 or 3 times, and I was like, "Yo, this guy is stopping me at every major tournament." It was like Pans, weight and absolute, and then Gi Worlds. I fought him first round. I was like, "Bro, whoever's doing this is before they had rankings, so I'm like, whoever's doing the bracket here did not do me any favors because I had to fight this guy first round." But like every time I fought him with everything I had, and I genuinely believe I was gonna win. But he was just at that time, he was just like on a different level. And I remember he goes off. Now I'm in the finals, and I'm like, all right, I have to fight his training partner now.
His like best friend, yeah.
I'm like, bro, like, what the hell? Are we like connected somehow? Like, what the heck? So like in my head, I remember like thinking that whole year as the time is coming for me, because I had a feeling I was gonna have to fight Fabio. And I remember people just saying like, oh man, like he's Nicholas Marigali's best training partner, like he's from Alliance, and just all the stuff that people say, or like just like people who are not in there, like they're saying and they're projecting. And I'm just like, man, I really don't care about any of that. Like, you know what I mean? Like Marigali has taken a world title or blocked me from a world title. I'm not about to let this guy do it. And at that point in time, I was in college, And I said to myself, I was like, if you're gonna try and do this jujitsu thing, you have to start beating these guys. Like you have like this is like where we're gonna draw the line in the sand. So like there was a lot mentally that was going on that no one knew about. You know what I mean? From like my perspective, in addition to people just trying to project how I was not going to beat him or I could not compete with that team. And I was just like, I don't care. I just got to beat him. And in that moment, I just remembered like they were so hyped, his whole team, and I actually said like that, like I was saying, let's go, let's go. But the whole like tournament, I was telling myself, I'm not going to be denied. Like they're not going to deny me this time. And I wanted them to know that I was like, I said Bora because like I was like, I want you guys to know in your language that like I'm ready. I'm gonna take this. And maybe even if I don't, like I was game to give everything I had to try to take it. You know what I mean? So it was just kind of like a declaration. And I felt like their energy was just so intense. And I was just like, I can't let them out energy me. It was weird. I was just like, I was just competing with anything I could to like give me an extra edge. And it worked out. It
Definitely.
worked out.
That's honestly a sick move to just be like, let me drop this in your language too, just so you know that I'm not messing around.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, for sure. I feel like I don't know. Energy's infectious and it's huge. And actually, I always like competing against them because I could feel that energy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I remember every time I fought Mario, like he would walk through. He would walk through. Can you guys see me?
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry about that. Uh, he would walk into the venue, and I knew he walked in because people were like, "Oh shit, that's Mario." Like even as a pro ball.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, like you gotta fight this guy. Like, what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can respect him, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I still
Can't
have
be
to
a
beat
fan.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? I respect everything he's done and everything he might even do, but I still want to beat him. Like, if I match up with him, I want to beat him. Like, I can beat him. So yeah, that's just like that. And I'm still like that. I think as I gotten older though, I channel it a little bit more differently. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to outwardly like project onto other people, but like internally, I'm just like, I know what I need to do and I know where I believe I can be. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. So you kind of talked about how you and Marigali do have some history competing and everything. And Marigali's even a young Marigali in that clip, cheering on his teammate and everything. And then after Who's Number 130, that was one of the people you called out, right? Is Nicholas Marigali. So I'm just kind of curious now, first of all, did you think eventually you guys would both be on like these types of huge stages, like Who's Number One and everything, and would cross paths again? And what makes you want a match with Nicholas Marigali at this point in your career?
Yeah, I mean, you know something, and it's funny too because I mentioned this about Marigali, but and all the guys in the gi, but like even Gordon kind of came up around the same time that I was coming in. You know what I mean? And I could always tell like who were going to be the top guys and who were going to do like you just can feel like all right, like this guy is different. You know what I mean? And that doesn't, at least in my mind, it doesn't mean that like you think any less of yourself, but like you can like it's like the saying real recognizes real, right? I could just tell that those guys were different, and so I always tried to compete with those guys coming up, however I could, wherever I could. Like there have been times where I've literally cut into divisions to fight tougher opponents, you know what I mean, or I gained weight into divisions to fight better opponents when I was coming up through the ranks. And so I kind of always knew like Nicholas was going to be like top tier. And like I remember when he came to black belt and he like walked through his heavyweight division. And I remember telling someone because they were like, yo, like, he lost Pans and there were close matches, but I don't think it's enough time for him to like I think it was Pence where he lost to Leandro, if I'm not mistaken. But I vividly remember having a conversation with someone. I would not be surprised if he won Worlds. You know what I mean? Like that guy, he just when people have a tendency to rise to the occasion, you kind of expect them to continue to do that, and he in particular has always had that ability, in my opinion, to rise to the occasion most times. So yeah, I have a lot of respect for him, and I fought him a few times, and I want to fight him again.
Definitely. I
Out of
think
respect.
Yeah, I think it would be an incredible match to have on Who's Number One. Obviously, Marigali's kind of, he's went dark a little bit for a while now after ADCC 2024, dealing with the shoulder injury and all of that. But, I've seen some clips of him back training and all that. He's dropping some instructional stuff. So I think a Marigali return taking on a game guy like yourself would be super sick to have go down. But we pulled one of Marigali's biggest matches on Who's Number One where he fought Kynan and he was able to get the submission. I was wondering if we could watch this with you and kind of maybe you could just talk through some of the stuff Marigali's doing here, but also just kind of like what does make Marigali such a different level of competitor and everything.
And especially because we all grew up watching Marigali in the gi, and now he's kind of really making this transition into no gi. We haven't seen as much of him in no gi. Maybe probably seen more of you in no gi. Maybe you feel like you have an edge in no gi. I'm just kind of wondering how you think maybe matching up with in no gi will affect things here as well.
You want me to answer that before the video, or?
We can just start the video and you can kind of talk through that as it's going and everything.
Yeah, I think I think I said this about Gutenberg too. I think high level like gi guys, when they come into no gi, I think it's more about them making adjustments like just for the no gi game. And so like I don't necessarily believe I have any like advantage per se, whether it would have been from like gi to no gi. I'm just interested in the challenge that he represents as an athlete, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely.
But I remember watching this entire match, and I just remember thinking that like he's doing a really good job of controlling the hand fighting, and he's getting a lot of major reactions out of Kynan, and he's kind of playing at the head, playing with the legs, and then he I think when he got that underhook, he kind of knew that he could like catch that body lock, and that's why he went right after it. And Marigali in the gi and no gi, as you can see, is pretty good from this position. So, like, once he got here, I was like, oof, this is going to be tough.
Definitely.
I feel like he's always such a guy who, like, once the momentum starts rolling, like, it just keeps going, right?
But you know what's funny? I just feel like if you watch his matches, he kind of either he shoots out of the barrel, or he's a steady build, and then it culminates into like this thing that seemed like it was such a like momentous like exchange, but he just steadily builds progressively throughout the match, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I also or go ahead, Devonte.
No. And look, that's from like an outside perspective. Like I don't know what he's actually thinking, but that's what it looks like to me. It looks like he's consistently building and learning throughout the match. And once he gets into the mount or the back, it's pretty tough for anybody.
Definitely.
I mean, this feels like if this were to happen, you versus Marigali, it feels like it's a pretty big match, especially at this moment. We're both, you're surging right now, and Marigali has taken some time, but he was on a big come up in the no-gi scene, before that. So this feels like it could be a pretty big match.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I wanted it, right? I think, Marigali, he got injured at ADCC 2024. But before that point, I feel like he was.
Yeah.
It looked like there was Gordon, and then there was Marigali, and then there were everybody else. You know what I mean? And so, I don't think that someone who's as professional and he seems so dialed in as like Marigali. Like, there's no way that he doesn't come back from that, and he's like even better than he was before. And so that's interesting, for me. And it's like, I also feel like too, like, as you said, I've been doing this for a long time, and it's the way jiu-jitsu is right now, it's kind of hard to guarantee that you're going to fight like the best guys as often as you'd like. And so when you get a moment like, I have right now where I just had a match on Who's Number One, and I have an opportunity to like say who I'd like to fight. It's like, there's only it's probably like a handful of guys. There's less than a handful of guys that I want to waste that moment on, and he's a top guy. He's a top guy, and yeah, so I think it'd be fun.
Definitely. So we're kind of getting close to time here, Devonte, but I did want to ask you, outside of you versus Marigali, are there any other big matchups in like the heavyweight and light heavyweight divisions that you think could be made in the jiu-jitsu world?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not the biggest fan of like calling people out. Honestly, if Marigali didn't beat me, in the lower ranks and I didn't want that match back, I probably, maybe I wouldn't be as like gung ho about that. But yeah, like I'll fight anybody to be honest with you. I really don't care. I just want to climb my way up the divisions. At 205, I know Felipe Costa said that he'd be interested in the match at 205, so I would like to to entertain that if it's possible. He's in the top five. He's really good. He's really well rounded. He's and also he's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun watching him compete because you have some. At least I don't know what he's gonna do when I watch him. Like he's so unpredictable, and he's a kind of a guy that like people. I think people sleep on him a little bit, but he's like super good. He's super tough. I think he's Victor Hugo's cousin. You know what I mean? So they get to train together all the time, and that's only making him like shoot up, I would imagine. So that would be a lot of fun. I fought Giancarlo a few years ago, and we had a close match. I ended up losing in the EBI overtime. I would love to have that match back again too. I don't know if that's available or if that works, but I would like to have a match with him. He's super super technical. I think he's one of the most technical guys in the sport, um, truthfully. So I would love to have a match with him at 205. He tends to do 205, so that works too. But yeah, I don't know. Like I'll fight anybody. I just want to fight the best guys, and I just want to keep pushing myself, regardless of the outcome. I just want to keep challenging myself to continue to improve. I think this year, like in 2025, I got to fight a lot of good guys, and I had you know, I kept building, or I keep building, momentum. So I just want to continue to see where that goes. Like I want to continue to, to push towards the top of, both of these divisions and see what happens.
Awesome. Devonte, I'd like to ask you a question. So when it comes to FloGrappling, I'm the biggest anime fan here in that I'm the only anime fan here. I know you're a huge anime fan as well. You're always dropping some awesome recommendations for me on Instagram or something. You've given me a couple really good ones. But for these guys who haven't seen anything, they don't know Dragon Ball A from Dragon Ball Z, right? Can you give 3 maybe anime shows that a jiu-jitsu fan should watch that they might enjoy?
Oh, okay. I would start off with Baki the Grappler. Um, so it's funny too, because if you're an OG anime fan, there's the original Baki, which is called Baki the Grappler, and then there's Baki, which is what you see on Netflix now, and that's not the original. Baki's great, but Baki the Grappler is even better than Baki. And if you are a fan of Baki the Grappler, you watch Baki, in my opinion, because the animation has gotten so much better over the years, right? I think Baki the Grappler came out in like the 80s or something like that, I think, maybe late 80s, early 90s. But it's really dope. It's a fighting anime. And it's probably in my opinion, it's one of my top 5 all time. So if I was a fight fan and I was looking for an anime, I would start off with Baki the Grappler slash Baki. Number 2 will be Hajime no Ippo.
Yes.
And I'm gonna say that because I'm gonna stick with fighting anime.
Smart.
Exactly. So that's a really, really good one. And it's about a boxer and his climb from being essentially a nobody to a somebody, right? And I think that if you're a jujitsu fan, right? I think and I think I can speak for a lot of jujitsu practitioners, right? Like everybody kind of like likes like the story where you're building from nothing to something, right? Because when we start in jiu-jitsu, in my opinion, like you're a scrub, you're a white belt, you get beat up by everybody. And then if you're lucky, when you become a purple belt, maybe you can start winning majority of the rounds you take, until you go against the brown and black belts, and then you continue to get smoked, but you feel a little bit better about your day, right? Um, One Punch Man, in my opinion, is great for that because he goes from being essentially like the world's greatest weakling, and all he does is like these like push-ups, these squats and pull-ups. I think he does like 100 each every day, and then he just wakes up one day and he's like the strongest dude in the universe, and he's like one hitting every villain. It's kind of cool. But yeah, if I had to give someone a recommendation, it would be those 3 because they're easy to watch in my opinion. One Punch Man is a short one. um, Hajime no Ippon and Baki are a little bit longer, but they're so digestible. So like you can't go wrong with there. And an honorable mention this has nothing to do with anime, but it's just like
Nice
you
one.
can't miss. Yeah, you can't miss solo leveling. I don't care what you do, who you are. Like it's like S tier in my opinion.
Okay, there we go. Now
I
we
gotta dive in.
Yeah, we gotta dive in. Have you ever seen Kengan Ashura on Netflix?
Of course. Yeah. So you know
That's the
something.
only one I've ever watched. I've watched Kengan Ashura. I just googled
Okay.
best martial arts anime, and that was the first one that popped up, so I watched it.
How do you feel about that one?
I mean, I don't know anything about anime or whatever you guys call it, So it's like I can't rate the animation or any of that. I just thought it was badass how we were doing like a martial arts kumite, like original UFC style, where they just had someone representing every different martial arts, and the way they would mess with perspective, where it'd be like you think the dude get knocked out, but then they kind of play it back, and it's like actually he got tricked into an armbar from the jiu-jitsu guy. I obviously wanted the jiu-jitsu guy to win even more than the main character, but
Okay.
I thought that part was cool, but I don't know anything about anime, so I couldn't rate it on that scale.
So you should definitely watch Baki, especially the newer version on Netflix. You'd love that one.
Okay.
Because it's the same premise, but even better. Like I like Kengan Ashura, but I just felt like it could have been so much more. You
Gotcha.
know? So
Who did you want to win? Did you want the jiu-jitsu guy to win that one, or were you hoping kind of the main character or something got it done?
you know what's funny is really very rarely do I ever like I try not to get too attached to characters. I just kind of like to just watch it like materialize, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure.
And then after I watch it, I'll kind of like watch it again if I really like it, and then I start building attachments. You know, because I'm gonna tell you why. When I was a kid, I was watching Naruto, right? I was in college, but I started when I was a kid. When Naruto Shippuden came out, when they took out Jiraiya Sensei and the way they took him out, it ruined anime for like 3 weeks for me. I didn't watch any anime, didn't read any manga for like 3 weeks. And I was like, bro, like, I can't believe they did him like this. And so, like, for me, after that moment, oh, bro, I was borderline depressed. So after that moment, I was like, there's no more getting emotionally attached to anime characters. And and look, Jujutsu Kaisen, right, is the new age version of that, because I started getting a little bit attached to Gojo.
Okay, yeah, that show will break your heart. No, I'm right there with you. That show will break your heart 10 times over. I'm still not over the Shibuya incident.
Bro, when they sealed him, I was like, I'm done.
Tough.
Because I knew where this was going.
Unseal my boy.
All right. Well, I feel like now I'm getting spoiled here, and now
I think there's enough anime talk for this podcast.
yeah. But we appreciate you coming on, Devonte. We appreciate your insights. Definitely look forward to hopefully a Marigali match can happen. You and Marigali, that would be sick. But
Congrats on the big win.
Yeah, congrats on the win, of course. Is it where can the people follow you? Where can they see more Devonte Johnson?
Yeah, you can catch me on Instagram. My name, Devonte Johnson, is my handle, or follow my gym, Bones BJJ Academy on Instagram. And before we leave, I'd just like to thank my sponsor, Aleon, for all the support, and also Bulletproof by BJJ, and my nutritionist, BJJ Nutrition, and Kaizen Mental Health Performance as well.
There we go. Well, thanks for joining the show and everything, Devonte. Thanks, everyone at home, for watching. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you learned some more about Devonte. Drop a comment. Let us know what kind of matches you want to see for Devonte up next on Who's Number One, and we will catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks, Devonte.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.